We don't feel it too much here in Seattle, if I'm being honest, but across the country, this certainly would suggest that, home sales are a challenge, and a lot of that has to do with interest rates, as you might imagine. Afternoon, consumer sentiment and consumer confidence are both down quite a bit here in a pretty volatile trading week. My name is Brandon Steele, financial advisor with Mainsail Financial Group, and our goal every Thursday at 3 is to bring to you the market news, the data, the trends that we're watching, and hopefully weed out a bit of the noise along the way. And I do want to share before we even kick things off today. Today will be a little bit of a shorter session, mostly due to a lot coming up next week, which I'll cover as we kind of break for today. But also, I was at an industry event here today, so a little shorter, but it is a little bit lighter week. And then next week we have a ton, so we'll be right back into the thick of it there. So most of what I wanted to cover today, I guess, centers around two main areas. One is the consumer, and one is home sales. So the first thing I'll touch on is the consumer. I'd kind of tease this a little bit as we started the recording here, but the first thing I'll mention is consumer sentiment came out this week, and it was lower than expected, also down from last week, or last read, excuse me. But we also got consumer confidence came out as well, and that number came out at 98.3, which was less than expected and significantly lower than the prior read as well. So both sentiment and confidence were down here in these most recent reads. Now, to be fair, don't look at one of these as the solution or the answer to what to expect for markets moving forward. One data point does not suggest a trend, as you might imagine, but it is important to watch. And given what we've seen this week around volatility, certainly kind of speaks to that, as consumers maybe are getting a little bit weary, and maybe it's part of a lot of what we're hearing in the news, partially due to valuations, probably a blend of all the above, but nonetheless, that's certainly what we saw. I would imagine a big part of this, as a heads up, is as a result of some of the inflation increases that we've seen. So definitely something to keep an eye on there. In addition to the consumer, I also wanted to focus a bit on the housing market. So we had existing home sales, new home sales, and pending home sales all come out over the last week or so. And existing home sales came out at 4.08 million, down from 4.29 million the prior read. New home sales at 657,000, down from 734,000. And then pending home sales today were down 4.9%. So the general theme is, and this has been the theme for a while, but is the housing market, although we may not feel it, it depends where you're watching this. We don't feel it too much here in Seattle, if I'm being honest, but across the country, this certainly would suggest that, home sales are a challenge, and a lot of that has to do with interest rates, as you might imagine. But again, existing home sales down, new home sales down, pending home sales down. So definitely, important to continue to watch this market as time goes on. And, especially that now that the Fed is likely pausing, there's not a lot of reprieve in sight. So it'll definitely be interesting to watch where markets go from here. I also want to touch briefly, we have a ton to come up next week, so definitely stay tuned next Thursday. We have income, spending, inflation, and then of course we kick off jobs week. So for those who do watch us pretty frequently, that this is like the week of the month where there's a lot going on. So again, income, spending, and inflation, and then we kick up jobs week again as well. I feel like we just did this, but somehow we are already into March. So that, that signals that it's time to kind of go back into all these data points. So be sure to tune in next Thursday at 3. In the meantime, have a great weekend. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, enjoy this much warmer weather that we're experiencing lately.